It's way less important that you're getting everything perfect. And it's way more significant to the bottom line, right? The revenue, the performance is really about having a cohesive strategy that's being executed consistently. That is where the real performance comes from. And I've been in so many situations in my career where I've been working with entrepreneurs that just take it all way too seriously. Being like, okay, we're not curing cancer. We're posting something on Instagram. If something goes out at the wrong time, I've had terrible clients that will just hiss at everyone and just make terrible remarks because there's a typo or whatever. But again, these things happen sometimes. And maybe in the future, this will actually be like something that works in our favor.
Welcome to Human First Founders, the podcast for down-to-earth entrepreneurs who care deeply, think differently, and want to build a business that actually feels good to run. I'm your host, Kinsey, founder of Authentic AI, and your go-to gal for real talk about branding, mindset, storytelling, and showing up in a way that feels aligned. Every week, we're diving into honest conversations with creative founders, thoughtful strategy that you can actually use, and the human-first side of building your brand in this digital age. Let's get into it. Hey, my human friend, and welcome back to Human First Founders. I'm your host, Kinsey, and in this episode, we're talking with Victoria Hajjar, founder of Ugli Ventures, and we're diving into what it really looks like to build a sustainable, strategic marketing system that doesn't totally burn you out, which I think is what we are all raising our hands for, right? Victoria shares her 24/7 marketing flywheel, a simple but powerful framework to help you focus on the right things at the right time. And we talk about systems, boundaries, imperfect action, what it actually means to lead with clarity in your business. Man, this conversation was so good, and I know you're going to love it as much as I did. So if you do, make sure that you share it with a business friend who should also listen to it. And while you're at it, why not leave 5 stars or give us a follow on your favorite podcast platform, because that really will help us to continue growing our human first community. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. Hi, Victoria. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
I feel good. I got to tell you, I feel good. I'm excited to be here, and let's talk marketing. I'm so excited to geek out with you.
Yes, it's going to be so fun. Before we dive into all the tips and tricks, though, can you please share with us a little bit about who you are, what you do, all those things?
Yes. So my name's Victoria Hajjar. I am the founder at Ugli Ventures. It's ugly with an I. And it's ugly because business can be ugly sometimes, especially when it comes to sales and marketing. And I have made it my mission to make sales and marketing a little bit easier and a little bit more joyful. And the way that I found to do that is really with implementing systems in all areas of your business to really unleash your creativity. So some people think systems, they think this like boring and robotic, and I'm a creative and I have so many ideas I want to pursue. I think the thing that folks often miss is that systems set you free, like in any area of your business. And I think when you're not so worried about getting things done and so behind and last minute, it's actually when a lot of the creativity can be unlocked, right? That's when where the fun part comes in. I think we miss out so much because we're just like running to catch up. And so we are maybe not producing our highest quality work when it comes to content.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We're going to geek out about this, guys. But before that, I do always like to kick off the conversations by asking about you and your journey in entrepreneurship and what that's looked like for you.
We did chat a little bit about this yesterday when we were recording. I feel like we're like podcast besties now. We've been together a couple of days in a row. No, but I mean, my journey started out, I think like so many of the listeners, you start by doing. So I started as a freelancer after running marketing for a company. So I was with one company for a number of years and moved up those ranks and learned so much about marketing trial by fire. And then I was ready to branch out on my own. And my first action step there was just picking up the phone to my contacts and just saying, what do you need? I know about marketing. What do you need? And the early days were really like, and I think so many can relate to this. It's like you get your foot in the door because they need one thing, like copywriting, or they need just content creation or photos. But then once you develop that relationship with the business owner, they trust you and they want you to do everything. And I think what we end up seeing after a year of working as a freelancer is that we find ourselves copywriting and email managing and social media managing and updating the website. And we become these really great generalists, right? Executing everything. And then the next logical step is a lot of us start building agencies, quote unquote, where we're like, okay, I don't really love copywriting, but like I'll tag in Trisha, who's great at copywriting, and then I'll bring her on. And then Eric is great at building sites. So we'll tap him in. And then before you know it, you have an agency. So that was my story. And it was very painful because I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't particularly enjoy it. So I think many of us, where we start tapping in our friends and you become this like project coordinator, and you can't, if you don't have those deep relationships where people's quality of work, that can get you into a lot of trouble. I don't know if you've ever run into that where you've tapped people in for the project that just was not a right fit. That was terrible. So I went through that a little bit and then kind of decided that I didn't love the agency model. So after about 2 years of running an agency, more or less, I decided to start consulting as a fractional chief marketing officer or fractional marketing director, which essentially meant going into people's businesses and building the team, building the strategy, but doing it individually based on what the project needed. And this was a marker of, I was very multi-passionate. So I never really picked a niche in the beginning of my career in terms of the industry I work in. And so one of the big mistakes I made with this agency model was like, I would have a restaurant as a client, and I would have a e-commerce, or I would have a cybersecurity client, and I was trying to put the same people on all of these projects. And it was a nightmare. So in the fractional model, I would go in, lead it, do all the kind of steps that I would do, but I would hand build the team. So that means hiring that social media manager, hiring that web designer, hiring that brand designer, and building these teams bit by bit, which has been so great. And through that, I developed myself just by being so hungry to work with more accomplished like founders each time. And that has really been my NBA, so to speak. I've been obsessively up-leveling myself through the types of founders that I've worked with. So I've worked with incredible founders where we've had $1 million months. I've worked with founders that have built $1 billion unicorn businesses and really learn what marketing means for these kinds of businesses. And that's been my education. And now I really pay that forward to try to give marketers and even business owners that are running their own marketing the tools, tips, tricks, templates, frameworks that I wish that I had when I was starting out, because the trial by fire thing is real. It's really tough.
Oh, wow. I love that. And yeah, we do have similarities in our stories for sure. I know so many of our audience members can relate to that as well. But it is funny. I think that the best thing in entrepreneurship is we can approach it with curiosity and like realizing it is a learning experience. And yes, trying to follow guidelines that make sense to us in the moment, but then also leaving ourselves open to, okay, maybe this is a lesson I learn instead, or a pivot I have to make instead, but that's okay. Like it really is walking that, like, it's not a line, but it's just like allowing yourself to go with the flow of the river and try to be as smart as possible. And then also realize that don't beat yourself up if something goes wrong.
100%. You know, what's so funny though? It's interesting because I think that we're talking about social media here. And I think we can all see how much the demand for the quantity of content, how much that has been growing. Like it's been growing exponentially in the past like 3 to 5 years. I just feel like this sheer volume of content. And one thing I want to say to social media managers out there, people thinking about their social, where it's, yes, give yourself grace. I think that it's totally not reasonable to think that everything's going to go out perfect every time. There's not going to be typo. Yes, you do all that you can to make sure things go out at the right time, that there's no typos or whatever. But if you're producing huge volumes of content, because that's what is demanded nowadays, we have to have a little bit of humility of saying, okay, we're going to do our best here, but this is it's a big task. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as a marketer and as a marketing director, I'm able to see that. But oftentimes the folks you're working with can't see that. And so I think you just have to grow a little bit of a tougher skin and be able to stand up for yourself and say, this is a huge volume of stuff that's pumping out. It is. A lot of times we're doing weekly emails and we're doing multiple days posting a day, and we're creating blogs where, making sure things are optimized and cutting and editing and all this stuff. I think, yes, there's a lot of social media managers listening, but I know if you're working for smaller businesses, you're doing everything. I'm sure that often falls on your plate.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's so true. And it is one of those things too. I like to remind people as well. Oh my gosh, my autocorrect on my phone has been sucking way worse than usual lately.
Where's AI to help with that?
I don't know what's happening. It's like horrible. And like literally every Instagram story I send out has like a typo these days. And I didn't really, I'll give it a once over, but usually I don't catch it until I rewatch my story later or something. I'm like, oh, there was another one. And I'm like, people have to think that I'm like dyslexic or something. And at the same time, I think it's so relatable that like my autocorrect messes up all the freaking time. And also like in the world of AI, in the world of all this stuff, like it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to show your humanness. And there's like a balance of you're going to try your best and it's not always going to be right. And that's okay. Because I think that our human quirks are going to become way more of benefit to our brands.
That's a very interesting topic to go on to. But yeah, and I think on that, what I think is our job as marketers working with business owners to build these businesses, and they're so passionate oftentimes, is that it's way less important that you're getting everything perfect. And it's way more significant to the bottom line, right? The revenue, the performance is really about having a cohesive strategy that's being executed consistently. That is where the real performance comes from. And I've been in so many situations, and I love this podcast because we can gab about this here, where it's almost like in my career, where I've been working with entrepreneurs that just take it all way too seriously. And just being like, okay, we're not curing cancer. We're posting something on Instagram. If something goes out at the wrong time, I've had terrible clients that will just hiss at everyone and just make terrible remarks because there's a typo or whatever. But again, these things happen sometimes. And maybe in the future, this will actually be like something that works in our favor because they'll know that it's human. But exactly, I think we need to understand what is important in the jobs that we're doing, focusing on what matters and helping our clients to see that, because many times our clients, they're not in it. They're not experts on social media. They're especially not keeping up with everything going on because they simply don't have time. It's our job to really be that beacon for them of really guiding them. And I don't care if you're a virtual marketing assistant or you're a head of content. We often have to take these positions in the companies if there's no one else to, and start to grow our confidence in helping our clients understand where to put really that time and energy and attention.
Let's take a quick break.
Do you want to create more Instagram Reels but get stuck on what to post? I hear you. That's why I'm excited to share our new free resource, the Reels Prompt Playbook for ChatGPT. This playbook includes 20 ready-to-use AI prompts for Reels hooks and captions, and makes it super easy to create trendy content that grabs attention without spending endless hours scrolling Instagram for inspiration. Whether you want to share behind the scenes, offer quick tips, or tap into the latest trends, the Reels Prompt Playbook has you covered. Download your free Reels Prompt Playbook at DIYwith.ai/Reels. And the best part, these ChatGPT prompts are designed to work for entrepreneurs in any industry. Plus, you can pair these prompts with any trending audio or any video that you find on your phone. Basically, they're super easy, super quick, and will keep your content super authentic while saving you loads of time and headache. Grab your free playbook now at DIY with.ai/reels and start showing up on Instagram consistently today. Oh, guys, okay. I want you to really listen to this part because seriously, I think that this is like the next level of what you should step into as like a leader and as a CEO and just like exactly like we're in working with clients and whatnot. Cause I've had that exact same experience. Like when you're just starting out, you're hearing all the advice. And especially I like have this like body memory of being little young entrepreneur Kinsey back in 2018 and listening to Jenna Kutcher and Amy Porterfield and hearing them be like, okay, consistency, hearing them lay out all the rules. And my little heart was like, okay, yes, I will. I'll do all the things. I have to be perfect. I have to show up, blah, blah, blah. And like, it's such a big deal. And like, you're taking all this advice to heart and it feels I need to do this to succeed and the stakes feel so high. And then it's like you get to a point, this is something I fully have embraced in my business and I absolutely love it for myself, for my clients, for my audience, because I think that I spread somewhat the energy a little bit, but it's literally, it's not that big of a deal. Let's incorporate regular reality checks into our businesses. And guys, I can attest to, because I've experienced this myself, where it takes a lot for you yourself to firstly accept the relaxation state as an entrepreneur. Okay. So we got to practice this ourselves, guys, of realizing that hashtags aren't a big deal. But if you miss a day on Instagram, that's okay. You can post again next week. It's fine. Like, practice this yourself. And then once you're able to embrace this yourself, you can bring that energy to your clients. And I know, like, I've only had pushback from one client. And this was my very first client where I got sucked into her kind of scope creep with my stuff and whatnot. And all of a sudden she's texting me at 10 p.m. telling me that something needs to happen right away. And actually, she's the one who made me learn this lesson. And bless her heart, she came back. I started setting boundaries with her. There was pushback at first, but she came back to me like 6 months later, right when we were about to stop working together. She was moving away and she was like, you really taught me some lessons about boundaries. I hated it when in the moment, but thank you. And I was like, wow. But like now the way I show up with my clients, like the way I react to things, like they'll be like, oh my gosh, this post went out with a spelling error. I'm like, oh shoot, that sometimes that happens. Sorry. I try to like look over things. But I'll make sure I give the upcoming captions a look over again. And they're like, okay. It's like the energy you bring to them that then they learn, but your whole like community becomes a little bit more relaxed or something.
Yes, absolutely. And I think one of the best lessons I've learned from one of the most successful female entrepreneurs that I've worked with is taking imperfect action. Because I really think that we get held up. And if we're waiting for everything, like to triple check everything or whatever, you're just not doing the damn thing. It's just more worthwhile to just put it out there and be really in community. I think this is one thing that is often missed when we're talking about social. Like, I can see that the accounts that have grown exponentially in the shortest amount of time are the ones that are having and when I say growth, I don't even just mean the follower number, because nowadays it's just, are your folks engaged? Do you actually have connections, right? On social platform? And a lot of times it's like, we're so concerned with going out on the front end. Are we really paying attention to the engagement? Are we opening up conversations on DMs? Are we actually posting on other people's stuff? And it doesn't matter if it's TikTok or Instagram or whatever, it's all of these platforms want you to be part of the network and be in community, right? Mm-hmm. When we have a very transactional look at our marketing, I just don't think that we're utilizing social media properly. And again, and then when you cultivate that genuine network, they don't give a damn if you spill something wrong. Honestly, because you're going to add value. You're going to be parts of the conversation with them. They're going to share and amplify your content because they have a connection with you, right? It's not because your content was so wonderful and it had no typos. So I think that's it. But I do believe like one way that marketers can gain a greater confidence in what they're doing, and entrepreneurs to make sure that they are actually executing the right things. Because there's two kind of audiences, I'm sure, that are tuning in. There's probably the people that are just executing, that are the social media managers, and they want to level up. I think most folks see the opportunity to start being a real strategist and consultant and thought leader with their clients. And then the other is you're a founder that's doing it all yourself because that's just how your business is and what stage you're in. And it doesn't matter which profile you fit into. The most important thing here is really understanding how to build the strategy. So I'm going to tell like a quick story, because I started my consulting career, now it's 10 years ago, and really struggled to figure out what are how is this repeatable system? Because as a consultant, I moved from working with in one business, like just being their marketing director, to figuring out how do I actually do this for more than one. And many of us, when we're consulting or freelancing, you wake up and you're like, wow, I just created 6 different jobs for myself instead of just one. Instead of a business, I have 6 different bosses, right? Or 4 different bosses, however many clients you're serving. And that stinks. So I was like, how does this all work? And I ended up getting a consulting gig with a marketing agency. So this was the first time I've ever been working inside an agency. And when I was being onboarded to work with them, the curtain was pulled back on how they build a sales-focused marketing strategy. And it's essentially your client journey. And there's a lot of different like platforms and consultants that conceptualize this journey differently. The way that I build out strategies, it's something that I call the 24/7 Marketing Flywheel. And it's the 6 stages that bring clients from first knowing about who you are and what you do to building that relationship with them and converting them into paying customers, and eventually, of course, like great referral sources and case studies. And when I put those pieces together, that there's really just these 6 steps that you have to go through, and you have to make sure that there's some tactic that you are executing at each one of these stages, right? And that's really all that it takes to build a marketing strategy. My overwhelm dissipated, because I was so overwhelmed just doing a bunch of things. I didn't see how the puzzle pieces fit together. But once I had the 24/7 Marketing Flywheel framework, I was so relieved to think, okay, now I have a little bit of a directive of what I should be doing. And I see how if I execute things in this way, then all of the marketing I'm doing is working together instead of just like these disparate in a silo little efforts. So that was a huge unlock. And I would say for anyone that's either executing social media or a full business owner, this is the one thing that you really need to learn. If you're just an executor and you want to up level, being that bridge for your clients that is going to show them how to build out a larger strategy. This is where a lot of business owners get frustrated, because they hire people to do the marketing. The business owner themselves doesn't know how all the pieces fit together. They expect the folks executing to know how to build like a cohesive strategy, but many folks that just don't have that experience, for example, or just took me a while to uncover this, right? If you can focus on understanding what that is, you're going to be tremendously valuable to your clients. And on the flip side, as business owners yourself, really understanding what anyone helping in your business should be doing and focusing on, that 24/7 flywheel is going to help. So if you want to grab, I have a free guide that walks you through how to do this. So if you go to ugliventures.com/overwhelm. So it's ugly with an I. So ugliventures.com/overwhelm. There's a guide that walks you through all of these 6 stages, gives you ideas on what you should be implementing for each stage. My one word of warning is when you start to building this flywheel, really think about only doing one thing per stage. It's not until you're doing one thing per stage and you figured out how that kind of works. The first stage is awareness. How are we getting leads? Let's figure out one consistent way we're getting in leads and really figure out how that's happening. The next step is engage, right? It's typically a lead magnet, right? These things are all going to be very familiar to you. But instead of creating tons and tons of leads magnets, let's get one working well, because that's where the overwhelm comes in. We're just like, this is not working. this is not working. Let's try something else. Let's try something else. But in reality, if we set up a system, the system allows us to analyze and interpret what's working, what's not working. And that helps us to iterate and improve on stuff where sometimes we're going so fast and we don't even think. So that would be my best advice, to gain that 10,000 foot view of everything that's going on in the marketing.
Yeah, I love this. And it's so good to think about it in that way too, where if you give yourself guidelines like this, it makes it so much easier to like just process and understand, okay, this. And I love your idea of just focusing on one thing per stage, because we often have that, I got to do it all. And that's not going to work, guys, because you won't do it all.
Exactly.
Well, especially. No. But also too, it's the communication thing too. That's what I loved what you said about that as well, whether it's communicating with your team members what you want them to do and or communicating with clients. If you are working with clients and you're creating strategies for them or anything like that, give them something that they can understand, right? Yeah. Give them the process in just like ways that they can understand, that makes sense for them, and that makes them immediately happier with the work that you're doing.
Exactly. I think that I love this concept of having your marching orders. If I have like my marching orders, like how much easier it is to go through the day and the week and how much more productive you are. The problem as business owners, there's no one to give us our marching orders. We have to give them to ourselves. So the 24/7 Marketing Flywheel was the first time that I was like, oh my God, like I finally have my marching orders of what I should be focusing on and building and doing. Then once you get that built out, like the second layer to that is when you start really understanding how to put some performance metrics behind what you're doing. Then your marching orders become, okay, how do I reach these certain metrics? So it gives you these little like step-by-step way to grow and scale your business, whereas many of us just get caught, honestly, not giving ourselves the time to work on our business because we're so busy in it business. So when we hear this like catchphrase that I think is like, just all over the place, work on your business, not in, work on your business. I think the question is like, how? When it comes to marketing, it's about building out your 24/7 marketing flywheel and then iterating and improving upon it. That's like the only function of a marketing department. And when you realize that it's like, can be that simple, it's not easy to do all the time because there's a lot of things pulling us in different directions. But if we can focus on the simplicity of just that directive, then we're executing things in a measured way. And everything we do makes sense.
Yes, I love that. I love that advice so much. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's already been a good amount of time. These conversations go by so quickly. But can you please share with everyone once again, like where they can connect with you and also the flywheel? Because I know we're all going to want to.
Okay, perfect. That. If you have any questions and you want to just like contact me, I love to hang out on LinkedIn. That's like where I hang out. I know a lot of you guys out there are probably Instagrammers. I'm also on Instagram, but I love LinkedIn. So you can grab me at Victoria Hajjar, Hajjar, and you can DM me anytime. But if you want to learn more about the flywheel, please go to Ugli Ventures. That's with an I, ugliventures.com/overwhelm. And you can grab that guide and it's going to really help kickstart you thinking about exactly what you should be doing on each one of these stages to start. And as I said, first layer of this is building out your flywheel. And listen, it's not, don't eat the whale. You got to take it bite by bite. And maybe that means just executing one part of the flywheel becomes a quarterly goal. That's how all of this works together, where it's okay for the next couple quarters. One of our marketing quarterly goals is going to be building out these certain pieces of the flywheel. Once it's done and we are getting data on it, then our quarterly goals become associated with how do we improve, iterate and improve on these different stages. It's just really that simple, although easier said than done, right? Because it means that we need to keep that focus. And in this distracting world, that's not always easy.
But when you have guidelines like a flywheel, guys, it's way easier. So go get that. But thank you so much for coming on the show. I've loved our conversation.
Indeed, me as well.
How awesome was Victoria, you guys. I mean, I absolutely love her kind of like no BS approach. This is how it is to marketing, business, and life. Let's be honest. I really loved this conversation and I know you did too. So make sure you connect with Victoria online. And while you're at it, why not send me a message on Instagram? I'm at Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs. Let me know that you listened to the episode and tell me what your favorite takeaway was. All right, I will catch you next time I catch. Thanks so much for tuning into Human First Founders, my friend. If you loved this episode, the best way to support the show is to follow along, leave a quick review, and share it with a friend who also gets it. You can always connect with me and explore more at DIYwith.ai or come say hey on Instagram at Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs. Keep building boldly, stay human, and I'll catch you in the next one.